I'm Luke Summerhaze, and I love Whismur. In the original Pokemon games, there were 15 types. Since then, we had the Dark and Steel types added in Generation 2, and the Fairy type added in Generation 6, bringing the total to 18. The addition of new types is incredibly rare, but nonetheless, with every new generation, people speculate about potential new Pokemon types. Of course, some folks have asked for a Light type as an opposite to Dark type. I've definitely seen folks asking for a Space type or Cosmic type for the likes of Clefairy, Sableye, Deoxys, and LGM. Some people want a Tech type for your Magnemites, Porygons, and Magearnas, though I think that's covered by Steel and Electric perfectly well. The most common new type I see people predicting and requesting is a Sound type. It makes sense. We already have lots of voice and noise-based moves, which are awkwardly lumped into the normal type, and we have more than a few Pokemon whose shtick is sound or music-based. Personally, I don't think we'll ever see another new type, but if we do, sound is a reasonable bet. Whismur is very much a sound-based Pokemon, although its typing is strictly normal. It comes from that Clefairy, Jigglypuff, and Kirby school of little pink blobs, in this case with big bunny rabbit ears which can flop down like earmuffs, and a crying little face. On its back there is a pattern like a volume symbol, and an open-ended tail like a speaker's input port, although of course people have been quick to compare it to various crude parts of the anatomy. The name, of course, comes from a combination of whisper and murmur, as this quiet little creature is the first step in a family that will get progressively louder. The Japanese name is Gonyonyo, which comes from Gonyo Gonyo, the onomatopoeia for whispering. At first, the Pokédex entries support this Pokemon's quietness. Ruby tells us, normally Whismur's voice is very quiet. It is barely audible, even if one is paying close attention. However, if this Pokemon senses danger, it starts crying at an ear-splitting volume. Pokemon Sapphire expands on this, telling us, Whismur is very timid. If it starts to cry loudly, it becomes startled by its own crying and cries even harder. When it finally stops crying, the Pokemon goes to sleep, all tired out. And Pokemon Emerald cranks it up to a ridiculous degree by telling us, its cries equal a jet plane in volume. It inhales through its ear canals. Because of this system, it can cry continually without having to catch its breath. At level 20, Whismur stops even pretending it's a quiet Pokemon when it evolves into Loudred. Loudred is a large-mouthed little creature with longer limbs than Whismur, but which still poke out from a single round blob of a head/body. The ears are no longer suppressing earmuffs, but instead round directional speakers. It has a purple coloration, and toes and teeth like headphone jacks. Loudred's whole vibe reminds me of Taz the Tasmanian Devil. It has the same shape, and it runs around screaming, shouting, and being a bit obnoxious. The name Loudred refers to the dread one feels at hearing its loud noises, and the Japanese name, Dogomb, combines Dogo, the angry battle shout, with bomb. Pokemon Sapphire tells us, Loudred shouts while stamping its feet. After it finishes shouting, this Pokemon becomes incapable of hearing anything for a while. This is considered to be a weak point. And Pokemon Emerald tells us, it positions the round speakers on its head to assail foes with ultrasonic waves at massive volume. It builds power by stomping the ground. Other Pokédex entries list the various feats Loudred can pull off with its noises. For example, Pokemon Ruby tells us, Loudred's bellowing can completely decimate a wood frame house. Fire Red goes even further. When it stomps its feet and bellows, it generates ultrasonic waves that can blow apart a house. And Diamond tells us, the shockwaves from its cries can tip over trucks. My favourite depiction of Loudred has to be its appearance in the live-action Detective Pikachu movie. A group of Loudred are seen in the underground nightclub and Pokemon battle arena, acting as boomboxes and pumping dubstep out of their big warbling lips. Once they get infected by the chemical R and go crazy, they begin smashing fish tanks and causing a ruckus with their loud music. At level 40, this mad noise gets focused into a fierce fighting monster when Loudred evolves into Exploud. Exploud is a bigger, bulkier, kind of dinosaur-like monster, with its head even resembling some of those dinosaurs whose skulls feature elaborate instrument-like apparatus. It hunches over, its mouth like a large unhinged jaw, and its body is crested by big spike-like air intakes. Based on a pipe organ, these various protrusions make it look almost like a kind of engine, with two huge exhausts as its tails. Pokemon Emerald explains, it has sound-generating organs all over its body. It communicates with others by adjusting the tone and volume of the cries it emits. Pokemon Fire Red tells us, it emits a large variety of sounds from the holes all over its body. Its loud cries can be heard from over 6 miles away. With the explanations out of the way, the Pokédex entries start to get exciting. Pokemon Ruby tells us, Exploud triggers earthquakes with the tremors it creates by bellowing. If this Pokemon violently inhales from the ports in its body, it's a sign that it is preparing to let loose a huge bellow. A Pokemon Sapphire tells us, Exploud communicates its feelings to others by emitting whistle-like sounds from the tubes of its body. This Pokemon only raises its voice when it is in battle. The name, of course, combines loud with explode. The Japanese name is Bakuon, combining bakun or explosion with perhaps gong or ongaku, the Japanese word for an instrument. While Exploud looks fierce and can use its mighty voice to great destructive power, it seems to be much more in control of itself than the wild and leery Loudred. Its most recent new Pokédex entry actually shows a more helpful side to Exploud. Pokemon Sword tells us, in the past, people would use the loud voices of these Pokemon as a means of communication between distant cities. I don't personally think we'll ever see a sound type, and mechanically I don't think we need one. That said, I like the concept of these noise-based monsters, and always enjoy seeing them in action. Music for Luke Loves Pokemon was composed by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Writing, editing, and producing is all by me, Luke Summerhays, and costs are covered by my lovely supporters on Patreon. If you like this podcast, please rate and review on whatever podcast app you're listening through, and please tell your Pokemon-loving friends. The podcast can be found on Twitter and Facebook at LukeLovesPKMN, so please get in touch. The next 2 monsters coming up are Makuhita and Nosepass, so please get in touch with your thoughts about those or any other monsters. Lastly, as I mentioned, this podcast is supported by Patreon. If you want to listen to episodes early, say thanks to me, and help keep the show hosted online, visit patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. There you can also find other podcasts my pals and I create. And if you have an idea for something I could offer that would make you interested in signing up, Twitch streams, Q&As, videos or content on wider topics, please let me know. And even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much for listening. I love Whismur, and remember, I love you too.